What's up, guys? You are watching Fite Feed, and we're going to be doing a breakdown of, you guessed it, that's why I did the barking in the beginning. We've got our favorite dog in the house, Gene Lord Silva, and we're going to be doing a breakdown of Gene's overall game. I pulled together some clips from his recent fights, and now I didn't include anything from the Bryce Mitchell fight. And the reason I didn't do that, guys, is because we saw what happened there. I thought somehow Bryce Mitchell would be able to do something there. He got smoked. But the reason I didn't include any Bryce Mitchell clips is because I felt like that matchup was not really reminiscent of. I just don't know what we can take away from that matchup with Bryce. So you're going to see clips from other fights. I think Gene Silva looked amazing against Bryce Mitchell, and there's definitely areas where we could easily pick apart different things he did great. It's just, I don't think that when you consider his upcoming matchup against Diego Lopes, I just don't see where there are any parallels between that. Whereas in these other fights, you know, he had some interesting things that I found in his game that I wanted to call out and break down for you guys. So we are back with another Fite Feed breakdown. Before we dive into that, I just want to ask, guys, if you enjoy these breakdowns, I really would appreciate if you give this video a like. It really will help my channel break that algo that YouTube has created for us and hopefully get to a larger group of people. So I would truly appreciate if you could give this video a thumbs up. And also, if not, please subscribe to Fite Feed so you can watch videos like this and stay on top of all the other content that I post. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in to Gene Lord Silva. All right, guys, so this first clip that I have of Gene Silva is against Weston Wilson, okay? Now, this matchup there's not much to write home about there because I think that this was another mismatch when you consider how skillful Gene Silva is. But the one thing I wanted to incorporate from this fight, guys, is something that I feel Gene Silva does very well. And it's also when I think about this matchup against Diego Lopes. And newsflash, I haven't made an official pick yet for this fight. I'm still working on my picks for this overall fight card, and I just cannot decide just yet who I'm going to go with. I am going to be rooting, I think, for Diego. I do love Diego Lopes, but I love Gene Silva just as much, I think. So it's a very tough one. But what I think Gene Silva does well that I've seen Diego Lopes struggle with is vision, right? And what I mean by that is I literally mean strictly vision. Like when they're fighting, Diego Lopes tends to not only, you know, grab at his throat a lot. I know there's like a weird tick he has there, but he also like will flinch or kind of throw with his eyes closed. Gene Silva's eyes, when he's in fights, guys, are wide open. Like he is always aware of what's happening and like keeping his eyes open. Not only, I think, to see what's coming from his opponent, but also see where he can find openings on his opponent. And that is something I'm going to show you in this first clip here. So when he's got Weston Wilson hurt in this fight, you know, he's throwing an onslaught at him. Weston Wilson at this point of the fight, guys, he's backed up against the cage, hurt badly. I'm surprised he stayed standing as long as he did. But what I want to show here is, so you have Gene Silva throwing a nice, powerful right straight that Weston Wilson he doesn't get his head out of the way. He does get clipped a little bit by that punch. But what you're going to see here that I really like from Gene Silva, so he throws this knee. That definitely smashes the nose of Weston, so bang. Now, this is the snappy shit that he does that is so interesting. So he pulls his leg out there, right? And now he's back at distance. And then watch Gene Silva. Watch his eyes, okay? He's watching Weston Wilson the entire time. He kind of feints like he's going to throw. He's doing like a little bit of a basketball crossover, right? And he's kind of feigning that right hand that he's been throwing this whole fight. And that makes Weston Wilson dip his head downwards. And if you go back, right, like this is exactly what Weston did here, right? We'll replay this. Gene's throwing that right hand. Weston sees it. And so what does he do? He ducks down, okay? So let's go back to where we were. I think Gene Silva kind of feints that same type of movement, right? He's making it seem like he's going to throw the right hand. Weston Wilson dips his head down again. And watch Gene Silva. I mean, I know he just subtly blinked there, but he is already gearing up a kick. And this is, I know when we watch this or when you guys watch this and I break it down, that it seems like, oh, like he had plenty of time to make that read. This is happening in milliseconds of time. I'm going frame by frame. So it is going to look like he's had more time than he really did to see and make this read, okay? So he sees that, he throws a fucking, I don't even know, like a jumping, I guess that's a jumping roundhouse, and just connects right on the chin of Weston Wilson. Now, that is not the strike that ended the fight overall. It did lead to the end of the fight, though. So, guys, that is one thing I have to just say about Gene Silva that I noticed in this fight, and it will carry over to these other fights as well. So, first off the bat, amazing vision, amazing ability to just stay in the pocket, but still read what's happening. And instead of blinking and cowering away, this dude is looking for openings at all times. Okay, guys, now we're going to dive into some Drew Dober clips from his fight that he had with Drew Dober back in Denver. And now, when this fight happened, guys, this was a crazy matchup. Drew Dober obviously hadn't been on like a losing streak at that point, I don't think. So it was a really solid matchup, and a lot of people thought Gene Silva wasn't going to be able to handle that power of Drew Dober, but boy, did he prove us wrong. What I want to call out in this first clip here is just show you guys the level of skill and the level of Gene Silva's ability to counter strike, but also make those reads. Like, he is like so good at making reads on the fly in like milliseconds. Okay. So what you're going to see here, Drew Dober is doing that technical and typical trick that we see a lot of strikers do, right? He has that lead foot out there and he's trying to gain not only lead foot position, but trap Gene Silva by stepping on Gene Silva's lead foot and having that control so that he can land a shot of his own. So you're going to see Dober's foot go like that. And as I mentioned before, this is happening in milliseconds. Gene Silva, the way I want you guys to watch when Drew Dober steps forward and does that, how Gene Silva reacts and throws a left hook that perfectly lands on the eye of Drew Dober. And what's really beautiful about this is only 3 minutes, 53 seconds of the round number one. And if you guys watch this fight, then you definitely remember this fight was ended due to a doctor stoppage because Drew Dober's eye was fucked up. And I believe that this was one of the catalysts for starting that damage, is just finding that read and landing perfectly, right? So Drew Dober's going to step in. Like I said, he's got that foot down on top of Gene Silva. He's going in to throw his signature left hand. And Gene Silva just instantly is coiling up and throwing that lead hook that you just watch this fucking fist. It goes right there and connects on the eye of Drew Dober. And guys, that is like, in the moment, that is such a hard thing to do, right? To be able to just have him crash in and just know like exactly where to place that hook, perfectly placed. And then he also follows it with a nice clean right straight that catches Dober right on the jaw. If you watch this slowly, you can see that his fist comes right through like that, landing on the chin. And Drew Dober was wobbled by that. And then after this exchange, guys, what I really love from Gene Silva is not only does he land that right straight on the chin here, he then throws another a lead jab, right? And he's going right back to the well with that right hand again on Drew Dober. But what I love here is watch how he's able to circle out. Another thing that Gene Silva does absolutely amazing in his fights is he's never just moving backwards. He's always moving in a lateral way. And he's not only moving laterally, but he keeps his feet moving at all times. He's never just like locked in place. And what I love about that is he's always able to find and cut angles using that lateral movement. And that's exactly what he does here. So he throws that right straight, and then watch this. He sees that Drew Dober's coming back around, and look at that. He gets out of the way of that punch and is able to circle off. Like, that is some Matrix shit, guys. To see that coming, get his head out of the position for Drew to land, and then make him, basically walk him back down and reset that entire position, really. And this next clip, guys, so this is me kind of outlining some of the combinations that Gene Silva is able to pull together on the fly as well. And this is something I really like, is that he's never like in there to think, oh, I'm going to throw a 1-2 head kick. Like, he is actually not only, throwing things out there, whether they be feints, whether it be a jab, a straight, but he's reacting live to what's happening with his opponent. And he has that athleticism that a lot of fighters don't have, where he can make those reads instantly and react to it, right? So what you're going to notice here is Gene Silva's going to throw a head kick at Dober, right? And so Dober gets this hand up, nice guard there. But right after he throws that, Gene Silva comes back in with a right straight down the pike, and he fucking lands it right on the nose of Dober. And that is something that I just find so crazy, because it's like and in addition to that, guys, like, watch this. So he throws this kick, bang, lands on the guard without even bringing that foot back for balance. This dude just instantly is throwing that right hand. So there's really no time for Drew Dober to even make a read or react. His only recourse here is, I'm going to eat this and just try to throw something else. And so right as Gene throws that right hand and lands it on the face, Dober goes to throw a kick of his own here. Now watch these reflexes of Gene Silva. He is like mid-punch. This dude somehow catches this kick, or like grabs the kick. You know what, guys? Actually, I'm wrong. When I first watched this, I thought that this hand of Gene Silva's was on the other side of Drew Dober's leg. And when you watch this, it almost looks like he grabs this kick and like throws Drew Dober out, which I was like, when I was watching this, I'm like, dude, how did he just throw a head kick right hand and then still like have the wherewithal to read that he's getting a kick thrown at him, catch it, and throw him to the side? It doesn't look like it happened exactly that way. Maybe I was just, I was watching too fast there. But basically, he gets kind of lucky there, where it's like the kick doesn't really land and they just circle out. So still really fascinating to see how he's able to throw with no balance and still land a solid straight right hand down the pipe. And then, guys, this is another thing that I'm going to show you here is, as I mentioned, Gene Silva has masterful lateral movement, which is fantastic when you're a striker, because it gives you way more opportunities to counter, cut angles, land shots, and get out of the way of your opponent's shots. But he also does know when to use a straight back sort of movement in combination with the lateral movement. And this is going to show you here, because so you got Drew Dober pawing this jab out there, and he's trying to set up this big overhand left or straight left hand. And so you see him kind of dipping and getting off the center line there so that he can throw that overhand, somewhat of an overhand. Yeah, it's definitely an overhand. But watch how Gene Silva is able to kind of read what's happening and get backwards here. So he steps back, he rolls with the punch on the same side that the punch is coming from. He's just kind of doing all of those textbook things that a lot of strikers, for whatever reason, seem to either lack or just don't do. And like, this is great to see from Gene Silva, because it also is somewhat of a testament to why he's able to stay away from some of the dangers of his opponent's strikes when in a fight with another banger in that of Drew Dober. And then, guys, one other thing that I want to call out here is, so right after he does that, one thing I just want to call out too is the thing about Gene Silva that's also interesting. He's not the biggest fighter, like tallest fighter in this division. He's definitely like got a shorter stature, really kind of like the same size, if you will, as Alexander Volkanovski. And I think that size, actually, when I think about it, I'm going to do a breakdown of this Diego versus Gene fight. I do think that could pose problems for Diego, given that he had trouble tracking Volk down and landing certain shots. Maybe it was because of that build. But although Gene Silva is a smaller guy, notice his stance, right? He has a very wide, almost karate type, like karate / boxing stance that allows him not only to have very powerful and thudding strikes, but it also allows him to cover a massive amount of distance for the size that he is, okay? And what you're going to see and see is that next clip here. It is right here. You're going to see Gene Silva. Look at the distance between him and Drew here, and watch how he is able to cover all of that distance from throwing one flying knee. And I do believe that it is due to that explosiveness he has, but also it is due to him having that solid and that really solid wide stance that gives him the ability to kind of cover that distance. Like, he's able to vault himself forward and cover a massive amount of distance for a small frame, which I do think is a big part of what makes him a tricky fighter, is that especially if you're someone like Drew Dober who's a little bit taller, probably not able to even understand or catch that, hey, look, this guy's short or shorter than I am, and I don't think he can get me from this distance. And then suddenly Gene Silva throws a flying knee that is just flush right on the chin. Like, that is some crazy shit right there, the way he's able to get that up there, but also cover like that amount of distance for a guy who's 5'6", 5'7". So really great to see from there. Very precise as well. And then also right after he lands that, what do you know? Gene Silva's instantly already kind of throwing another combo with his hands, getting and trying to set it up. He does shimmy out though. And you guys, another thing, and this is, I'm going to show you again, another situation where Gene Silva basically says, go ahead, take outside foot position. I'll make you pay for it. And it's something that I really like to see, because a lot of times, I think as a consumer, you know, I am not a well-versed striker by any means, right? So when I hear people talking about like, oh, you want to get lead outside foot position, which makes sense to me now, right? But what I love about this is Gene Silva is completely using the lead or the outside lead foot positioning of Dober against him, right? So you're going to see Dober step to the right side, so he has that lead foot positioning outside of Gene Silva's, which allows him to set up a nice solid left hand. But watch what Gene Silva does yet again. It's like he just knew exactly what was going to happen in this fight. Dober steps in to throw it, and instantly he's coming back with that lead hook again, and he connects right on the chin of Drew Dober. You can't see it, but he definitely connects, because Drew Dober, watch how he braces forward after getting clipped by that, and instantly Silva's throwing this knee right up the middle here at the guts, the liver of Drew Dober. Fucking beautiful. And then he just shucks his ass off. Get the fuck off me. Here's another example of the counter striking that Gene Silva brings, right? So you got Dober kind of blitzing in. He's throwing a nice lead hook to set up that left hand. And when I mean left hand, he's trying to throw an uppercut. But watch what Gene Silva does. He sees this punch come through. You're going to see him kind of step off like this so he can, you know, get some leverage there. And then he's going to throw an uppercut of his own with his right hand. And just now, this one doesn't land, guys, but this is just a great read from Gene Silva, right? So he throws that lead, or that not lead, but the rear uppercut with the right hand right up the middle. It does glance the face of Dober, but Gene Silva ends up eating that left hand from Dober, and he's already returning his own lead hook there. He did get clipped there, and that's another testament. Like, that shows Gene Silva does have a chin, because some guys that Dober's landed that clean left hook on, they go out cold, and he ate that like it was a fucking snack. Now, this clip, guys, is another example of like this weird style that Gene Silva brings too, that makes it, I think, awkward to not only game plan for, but just awkward to fight against in the cage. So what he does here is he throws this overhand or lead hand right at the dome piece of Dober, clips him a little bit there. But instead of, you know, going for that outside foot positioning, what he does is he brings this foot in front of Drew Dober and kind of bends down, right? And what's so cool about this, in this moment, he doesn't do anything with it, but that is something that Gene Silva does extremely well. He throws that lead hand, gets the foot on the inside of his opponent so that he can then do a spinning elbow or like a spinning back fist attack on the opponent when they're not really ready for it. If they go down to chase him, which Dober kind of instantly goes in to go at him there. He doesn't get the right footing, I don't think, so he's not able to actually throw a spinning strike there, but just shows you that diverse aspect to Gene Silva's striking game that a lot of fighters probably have not only trouble dealing with, but trouble game planning for. And not only that, when we talk about like the fundamentals, Gene Silva does have an unorthodox style where it doesn't have a very high guard, but watch how he's able to still throw and use that fundamental jab, right? So he jabs Dober here, gets hit with a body kick barely. He throws that jab right back into Dober's face, clips him there, throws it again, clips him there, and then watch this. A laser right hand. Like, this is a thudding right hand that he lands right into the center of his face. Like, it is perfectly placed there on that one. And then watch how easily he's able to not only land that laser hand, but he steps back instantly. He throws that lead hook over the top. so you could try to catch Dober, but he's able to kind of get out of that trouble. And look at Drew Dober's eye. It's already fucked, and it's only, we got 49 seconds left of round 1. And now this next clip, guys, is showing you off more of that explosivity that Gene Silva brings to his fights, right? So watch this beautiful up the middle front kick, teep kick, whatever you want to call it, lands it right on the solar plexus of Mr. Dober and just sends him backwards. And look at this fucking mean face he's got on when he does that shit. Watch this shit. Fucking just, he is looking to hurt people when he's in that cage, guys. And so this is another example, guys, of showing you how he covers distance, right? So once again, we have a decent amount of space between the two of them. And watch how Gene Silva is able to blitz forward and cover that distance, but then also do this almost like he's setting up like his own type of trip or, a spinning attack, but beautiful way to land a left hand there. He steps back out. And I think that one thing that I would call out as being, so on this clip, guys, you're going to see how Gene Silva not only gets on the outside there with that lead foot, but he throws a hand in there and then he's able to kind of get back out. It just shows you that, like, I do think if I were to outline some of those areas where Drew Dober had struggles with Gene Silva, was just how quickly Gene Silva is able to blitz in and cover that distance that Drew Dober was, obviously at times Drew Dober is always going to be a guy who's walking people down. But in this fight particularly, I think he was looking to obviously walk Gene Silva down and then get out of that danger when he needed to. I think it was very hard for him to do that because Gene Silva was able to cover distance very easily. And then right here, guys, this is an example where I was saying how he sets up that spinning strike. He steps on the inside here and he like you can see he's got that elbow, that lead elbow, but it's all to set this up as well. He is prepared to do a spin that way where he can land that right elbow and a spin right on the dome piece if Dober was to come in. I think that Gene Silva sees that Dober's evading and he just continues to press forward then. And guys, once again, the vision of Gene Silva, watch this. So as that happens, right, we go from Gene Silva kind of trying to set up his own spin attack to Drew Dober almost setting up his own but kind of telegraphing it in a way. And watch how quickly Gene Silva reads that. He reads it before it's even thrown. He sees it, what's coming. He steps out of the way. And that's all she wrote for that round. Guys, to start off round 2, we have another example of this lead foot positioning, right? Dober, he gets the X every time almost. He gets the X, marks the spot on that lead foot. Gene Silva, I don't think was caught one time in this fight by Dober doing this. Every single time that this happened, I feel like he made Dober pay worse than Dober was actually about to bestow damage onto him. So watch this. Dober steps on the foot there. And Gene is able to still evade backwards and land another lead hook right on that eye of Drew Dober. Like, he just gave him so many problems with that. He throws a jab right afterwards, just being very active on the feet, looking to hurt Dober wherever he can. And then, of course, we've got the classic Gene Silva. He's going to give him a high five. Now, guys, this is something I'm going to say, you're going to see it in my breakdown on this overall fight against Diego. One key to success for Diego, guys, I'm going to give you a little preview, in my opinion, is Diego cannot play these games with this man right here. Because this man, he will make you seem like you're his best friend, and then he will try to knock you unconscious as though you mean nothing to him. And I think that Diego needs to do his best to not play these games high-fiving. And you're going to see that in the Melsik Baghdasaryan fight as well. That is exactly what happened. And then Melsik Baghdasaryan got flatlined. And then, guys, this clip is just another great example showing how Gene Silva is able to react on the fly in the pocket. And even if he's not landing, he's just very active, even in those exchanges. And so you got Drew Dober, throwing a leg attack. And Gene Silva tries to catch him with a jab. It misses, but then he throws a right hand behind it, and he comes right back around with another left hand thereafter. So Gene Silva is just constantly on the gas, seeing things coming at him, reacting. Like, it is honestly a masterclass to watch this guy be in the pocket with no guard and still like dipping, diving on punches and kicks coming at him and reacting with his own offense. Like, I love to see it. And guys, that is pretty much everything on the Dober fight, because then after that round, Dober, his eyes cut up and it gets called. But now we've got the fight against Melsik Baghdasaryan, which was back in Seattle back in February this year. And off the bat, guys, I want to show once again this IQ and this vision that Gene has, right? Melsik's going to throw a tricky, roundhouse kick here at the head, and watch how Gene Silva is able to see this coming, slip out of the way like he's in the fucking Matrix. Beautiful head movement there, beautiful work. Gene Silva in this fight, guys, was doing this shit, smiling at him, giving him high fives the whole time, right? And you got to respect it because it's a manipulative way to get your opponent to almost let their guard down in a way, so that you can counter them, right? And like right here, this is just showing you guys that Gene Silva, it's like you can never understand fully what he's going to come with, right? I know that Melsik reads this. He does get the high guard up there on the kick, but Gene Silva is just so explosive the way he's able to throw this kick out there. And this is against a guy who's like a very decorated kickboxer in Melsik Baghdasaryan. And then, guys, once again, I want to show you, this is a great example in this fight how Gene's able to cover that distance, right? He's got this very wide stance, and watch how he's able to, gear up an overhand, and he kind of blitzes forward, but he's feinting that overhand, right? And so he's able to now break that distance up and get closer. Now Melsik, realizes the danger there. He kind of steps out, but I just want to show, like, as a guy who's not that tall, like, he's able to cover that octagon very quickly for a guy that's not very tall. Okay, guys, so now I'm going to skip ahead to, and we're actually almost through this entire fight here with Melsik Baghdasaryan, but we're going to take a look now at another example of the way that Gene Silva is able to be very active in the pocket and then also reacting like he's in the Matrix. So we're going to watch this here. So at the start of this clip, you're going to see he's throwing a right hand right at the right side of his head here. And what you're going to see is Melsik, starts to kind of frame up, trying to, find a, using his lead hand to frame up a shot. I think it's a left hook with his left hand, obviously, because the reason I call it out that way is that because he's fighting out of the southpaw stance. So it's a rear hook rather than a lead hook. So he's using that lead hand to kind of frame up on the face, and then he's going to try to throw this hook behind it. But watch what Gene Silva does. So Gene Silva's automatically off the attack there. And then as this happens, he literally knows this hook is coming. And watch how he turns his head off to the side just a little bit to kind of roll and pull back at the same time. This is some really high level shit here. Like the way that he's able to just slip right outside of that attack just shows you how aware he is in the pocket, knowing when his opponent's coming back, and also just getting an understanding of his opponent's timing, so that he can not only go in, land his shots, but then react nicely to his opponent's timing so that he's not getting caught with the brunt of that big shot. And then on this clip here, guys, you're going to see how Gene not only uses that same ability, right, where he can kind of cover distance, using that long stance. But what I love here is his use of elbows and how creative this is. It also actually, if you know how the outcome of this fight, if you know how this fight ended, the way that he throws this elbow ends up actually being pretty important. So watch how he throws this elbow. I love this. So you see he's got all the weight planted there on the back foot. He steps in and he throws the elbow kind of like this. I love that. That is a creative use of the elbow technique. I don't think he really lands this one, but still, I just love to see how he mixes that attack in. It really can be such a solid use for the elbow because I would think it's hard to block that, especially if it's coming at you straight on. The only, recourse you have is just to get out of the way, which I think Melsik did good there. But so guys, this is the last exchange I want to show you before the finishing blows that occur. Okay. And so what happens in this one? This is the masterclass in Gene Silva getting his opponents to almost believe he's like the ultimate snake charmer, right? He gets his opponents to believe like, I'm this nice guy and, we're having fun in here. And so, he's kind of making fun because right before this, Melsik Baghdasaryan throws a couple of slap attacks, right? So he slaps the lead hand down and he throws he slaps the lead hand down or tries to with his dominant hand. And then he throws his own lead hand over the top and then tries to return fire with that rear hand yet again, throwing some bitch slaps at him, right? And now watch what Gene Silva does. Gene Silva's like, oh, okay, you want to do some slaps? Let's do it. Let's do it. Show me it. Come on, bro. Let's slap. let's slap. And then he's like, come on, yeah, we're all friends. Oh, give me a high five. Yeah, high fives. And look at Melsik, like the look on his face there just is like, oh, like, yeah, we're just having a little fun spar. Like, this is nothing serious, right? You know, he's just having a good time. Gene Silva, come on, man, like a high five. Let's do another high five, right? Let's waste like 5 more seconds just fucking loving each other in here. And now watch what Gene Silva does right after that. So this ends at 1 minute, 59 seconds. They finally get back into it. And it is now 53 seconds. And watch Gene Silva. He now is using that veteran technique, putting the foot over on Melsik's. He throws the lead hand. Just like he does connect on this one on Melsik. So watch, it goes bang. That's the start of it, okay? It's this right hand that's a missile right behind it. And just look how perfectly placed. I just want to show you guys, like, watch how he just extends that forward and just flattens. Like the way Melsik falls to the canvas here, that is a clear sign of just being fucked up. He just drops. And now look. And guys, this is actually a call out to you guys who all have commented on my Islam video where I said Islam got knocked down by Renato Moicano. So when you see the way that Melsik falls here and his head, how it like whips backwards like that, watch this, falls back. If you watch my Islam breakdown, that's exactly, it's not the exact same way, but the way Islam falls, his head like falls back like as he does that, which from all the fights and KOs I've watched over the years, that to me is like a clear sign that someone was rocked, because it's like, usually I think if you're like just slipping off your feet, you are not going to be kind of like falling, your head first, where your neck is like getting whiplash. You would actually, if I would think that when you're conscious, at least like when I've fallen as a conscious human being, I don't allow my head to like direct where I'm going to fall and jerk my entire body that way. It's usually like I'm falling and like I'll brace or whatever. But look, the Islam video, this is obviously a clear knockdown. Islam's is definitely arguable. And then watch this. This is something that I love from Gene Silva, guys, is that there's not enough fighters in the UFC, in my opinion, especially when they hurt their opponents to the body, that use elbow attacks on the body, right? I feel like we don't see it enough, and I love to see this from Gene Silva, because obviously Gene Silva knows this dude's fucked up. He doesn't want to continue damaging him. He literally steps. He's laughing at this dude. Like, this is a fucking UFC fight. Bro is standing in the octagon laughing, and he's like, you gonna stop it? The ref's like, he's still there. You gotta do something. And then here we go. So Gene says, okay, fine. Throws another punch. Melsik's like, please stop the fight. And now he comes. Now watch this, guys. This is where that elbow comes into handy. This elbow right here. That right elbow. Watch how he hammers these down. It's so actually interesting because, dude, he is like that. Like, it's not like he's just dropping it. He's literally like going into hammer fist motion and then throwing that elbow down. So that is like a really powerful technique right there. But watch how he lands that right into the kidneys. Oh, God, that's so bad, dude. Those are fucking brutal elbows, okay? And this is why Gene Silva is an absolute beast. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I always have fun breaking down some of my favorite fighters. Gene Silva is one of them. This was one of my favorite performances of his, especially because going into it, Melsik Baghdasaryan is no slouch when it comes to the kickboxing. So it felt like this was going to be potentially a 15-minute war. I don't think that anybody watching expected that KO the way that it happened. Like, obviously, I think a lot of us expected that Gene Silva could get the KO, but the way that it went from like at 1 minute left of the first round, they're buddy, high-fiving, having a great time, to 7 seconds later, Melsik's on the canvas, basically KO'd, just sitting on the ground, waiting to be finished off by Gene Silva. It was a crazy finish. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you give this video a like. Also, hype this video up if you have the ability to. I would truly appreciate that. And if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe to Fite Feed so you can stay on top of all the new content that I will be posting. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.